Welcome back to the Success Portal with me, Dr. Franklin, life strategist. Today, I will be talking to you about rising in the midst of a crisis. So, at the present moment, there is a global crisis that is taking place at the moment in terms of the war between Ukraine and Russia, based in South Africa, and the war between Russia and Ukraine has had a negative impact on the economy, especially the countries that are worst, countries in the West have been asking our leaders about what they're thinking or what their take on concerning that war is and which side they would opt for. And our leaders have taken a neutral stance. The war has put quite a big toll, has caused quite a big toll on the economy in that it has affected fuel prices, and also there are problems to do with the supply of electricity. We've been having a lot of load shedding, and I must say this is the greatest amount of load shedding events of load shedding that I've ever experienced in my lifetime, and it has cost the economy lots and lots of money, and it has affected the livelihood of so many people in business and the ordinary people. So a lot of things have been taking place, and there are lots of things as well on media besides the wars and things that are taking place at the regional level, and also in different countries around the world. There is basically a global crisis. So many bad things going on around us in our communities, but there is still a need for us to rise up in this perilous time. And when you get to see all these things that are taking place across the world, in your community, in your nation, and they are quite distressing and disconcerting, it can be a source of discouragement. And though social media has gone on wide scale in our generation, and it has its positives, it also has its negatives. And one of the negatives of social media is they can take a small thing and amplify it, and they can make people become full of discouragement. Because sometimes when you're watching TV, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, and you constantly are getting these news feeds of bad things that are happening around the world, it can be a source of discouragement. And when you continue to feed on that negative information, it can affect your faith level. It can affect your outlook, general outlook on life, and how you actually see yourself within the context, within the global context. But today, I'm here to say to you that even if there is a global or national or regional crisis, you can rise above the crisis. Leaders, great leaders, are made in a crisis. I will give you an example of Nelson Mandela, who became a great leader during the time of apartheid, when so many African people in South Africa were suffering under the apartheid government, and things were not great at all. Life was so difficult. But that is when people like Nelson Mandela and so many other leaders rose up at a time when so many people were discouraged, so many people lacked hope, so many people could not see a future for the country. But he rose up in that time of a crisis. Great leaders and great people rise in the time of a crisis. When we see all the things that are taking place in our community and all the bad things on social media and on TV, it can be a form of discouragement. But I want to say to you that even in the midst of crisis, darkness, hopelessness, you can still rise. And it's important for you to rise at this time, because you may actually be the beacon of light for so many people. When I was attending a certain level of training in terms of understanding investments and the markets, one of the things that the trainer said is that when there is a global crisis, the markets move a lot and certain investment instruments actually crash. And in the midst of that, people make a lot of money, especially those who have been preparing for such drastic moves in the markets. So though some people will be losing money, some people will be making money. So money tends to change hands during a global crisis. And there's a lot of negative things that are happening at the moment at the global level. And I can tell you that money is changing hands. Some people are losing money and some people are amassing a great amount of wealth. I want to say to you that even in the midst of a crisis, you can rise. I am not taking lightly what people are going through around the world, especially those who have been involved in the Ukraine and Russian war. It must be so difficult for them. And my heart really goes out to those families, people who've lost their loved ones. But I want to tell you that when all these negative things are happening and the media has done very bad at propagating all the negative things around the world, because sometimes some of the stories are quite exaggerated. And when you follow media very closely, what then happens to you is that your subconscious mind begins to carry a negative pattern and a negative outlook on life, and you view life in a negative way. And even the way you fit in the world is almost like you feel you're not making any difference, and you're not going to make any difference to this world regardless of what effort that you can make. But that is a lie. You can rise in a crisis. You can rise even in the midst of disaster. You can become a beacon of hope to people around you and your family. As I speak of this, the imagery I get is that of the phoenix. And the phoenix is a mythological bird. It didn't actually exist. But what is very interesting about the phoenix and its origins is that I looked this up. I had to look it up. So in Wikipedia, it said that the phoenix can be dated back to ancient times of ancient Egypt, during the time of Herodotus, who was a historian during that time. And what was amazing about the phoenix is that it was a bird that was burnt and it became ash, but somehow it managed to resurrect or rise up again out of the ashes. And many other historians and other cultures have adopted this symbol of the phoenix, and it continues to be used even around the world for emblems and logos. And the meaning behind the phoenix is its ability to regenerate, its ability to resurrect. And you know, when there is a crisis, and when you think of a crisis when things have been burned down, there's hopelessness, and it just seems like nothing good can come out. The phoenix spirit rises up out of ashes, out of nothingness, out of hopelessness. And I want to tell you that even in a crisis, like a phoenix, you can rise up out of nothingness, out of hopelessness, and you can build up something that can impact the lives of people around you and reignite hope and passion. Thank you so much for listening to me. This is Dr. Franklin on the Success Portal. Till next time, keep rising, keep shining, and keep pushing for success. There is still hope, and there's lots we can achieve in this life. Goodbye.